I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Monday, March 18th. We begin in the Atlantic, where the recently announced closure of the 2024 maritime commercial elver fishery has drawn fire from the Wolastoqey Nation, who accuse the feds of favoring commercial fishers. Angel Moore reports.
They look like transparent worms. They're elvers, baby eels, and harvesting them is a $40 million a year industry. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans closed the season due to illegal fishing, violence between commercial and non-commercial fishers, and for conservation. Ken Paul is the lead fisheries negotiator for the Wolastoqey Nation.
And DFO made these determinations saying that, well, there's a bunch of unauthorized fisheries, and so we're going to, for the sake of conservation, we're going to close down the fishery. We've asked for those numbers and how they actually determined, like how did they assess, like how much was being brought up by the unauthorized fisheries, but they have not provided any information on that.
There are 8 commercial license holders, each with a 1,200 kilogram quota, which amounts to about $6 million a year. Paul accuses the federal government of focusing on the rights of the commercial license holders.
But they really don't take into consideration the concerns from our nations. Like, we're still a second-class citizen in these waters. Our members don't understand how individuals could be making millions upon millions of dollars off the resources within our traditional territories.
The lucrative fishery draws people to harvest without authorization. Since DFO closed the fishery, 5 people have been arrested for unauthorized harvesting. Carrie Prosper is an elder from the Wolastoqey Nation.
We have rights to make a livelihood. We know there's privileges passed on to the non-native society to have license to commercially fish. But there are people that depend on the same species for food. And any management plan got to be inclusive of all those things, and the priorities got to be met.
Paul says the Wolastoqey have a management plan, including growing elvers into adults, to restock the lakes to help sustain the traditional food source. But Paul says the government is not interested.
We are not getting the full support from the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We are looking for other partners to do this. But we have to go ahead and do this. We have to be caretakers of these lands and territories, because otherwise, we're not really fulfilling the hard work of our ancestors.
In a statement to APTN News, DFO says they are continuing to have a dialogue with community leaders to increase access to the elver fishery and promote compliance with the Fisheries Act. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
To the other side of the country now, where the Wolastoqey Nation and Western LNG have co-purchased the rights to build a 900-kilometer natural gas pipeline across northern British Columbia. Together, they've signed an agreement with TC Energy to buy all outstanding shares in Prince Rupert Gas Transmission Limited Partnership, the entity which holds the environmental certificate to build the pipeline. If built, the project would run from northeast BC to an LNG export facility within Nisga'a territory. Details of the sale have not been made public.
Hi, I'm Sav Jonesa, guest host of Face to Face. Coming up on our next episode, I'll be sitting down with Lance Cardinal, a Cree and Two-Spirit artist from Alberta. We'll be discussing his new children's show on APTN, his success as a multi-talented creative, and his journey to understanding his identity. Tune in Tuesday on APTN or listen to the Face to Face podcast. Download and subscribe on your favorite player.
To Winnipeg, where a recent gathering of residential school survivors and supporters shared news of a large donation that will help ensure their stories will be kept safe for years to come. Sav Jonesa has more.
The Winnipeg Foundation is here to gift $5 million to this historic project.
An emotional day as survivors shared their tears of gratitude and relief. They learned the home that holds their stories from residential school is receiving a large gift. The Winnipeg Foundation is donating $5 million to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. The money will be used towards building a permanent home for the center. It houses thousands of accounts from survivors on their experiences at the genocidal institutions. The largest collection of its kind in the world, it's outgrown its temporary home at the University of Manitoba.
A lot of joy, a lot of certainty, and maybe an answer to a prayer.
Survivor Laurie McDonald says a permanent location is important because he wants survivors' stories to be accessible for generations to come.
Thank God our stories are going to be safe, and thank goodness there's going to be a place that is concrete where we know they will be stored.
This gift is instrumental in moving forward to develop construction of the brand new National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation.
NCTR Executive Director Stephanie Scott says the new building will be located on what is currently a golf course next to the University of Manitoba. She says even though they are waiting on more funding, construction will begin quickly on the new home.
We still have about $35 million more to raise, and we're really relying on all Canadians, all governments to participate in the development of that and finish constructions while survivors are still here with us.
She says survivors are being consulted on the creation of the new building, and she hopes its doors will open by 2029. President and CEO of the Winnipeg Foundation, Sky Bridges, says the $5 million donation is the largest they've ever made to an Indigenous-led organization. It's also the second largest donation they've made in the foundation's history.
And it's an investment in a better Canada. It's an investment in a better community. It's an investment in ensuring that the stories of the survivors are never forgotten and that we learn from them and that we can move forward in a good way.
Bridges hopes this historic donation will encourage others to invest in the preservation of survivor stories. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Still in Manitoba, the Children's Hospital Foundation has named a member of Wolastoqey Nation as this year's champion child. And 15-year-old Janessa Dumas-Colombe was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease 8 years ago. In great pain with very little access to medical help on reserve, Janessa's family moved to Winnipeg, where she successfully received a transplant back in 2020. An initiative of the Children's Miracle Network, champion children are selected all over North America. And speaking of her transplanted kidney, one she's nicknamed Bob, Janessa hopes to help other kids with serious medical conditions.
As Manitoba's champion child for 2024 and the first champion child to be chosen from a Northern First Nations community, I want all the other kids who need Children's Hospital from anywhere in our province to get the health care they need like I did.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Monday, March 18th. I'm Rick Harp.